Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week Hello from the Other Side edition. My name's Dan Fudge, and with me tonight I've got Nathaniel from quick opportunity to plug your show, Nathaniel. Where are you from?
We are the To Hell and Back podcast, and you can find us on literally anything. All the links you've got on the screen here, we've got the similar ones to Hell and Back.
To Hull and Back. That's one that was it an accredited podcast at the Football Content Awards?
Yes, last year, 2022, Bronze Award. But the top two were both non-club specific podcasts, so we like to pretend that we won.
They were just generic football podcasts then, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I think we were going to go in about 2016, and for some reason back then, it seemed like it was like a cash grab. It was something like 120 quid each, and there was about 100 awards that had no real input into what was actually, you know what I mean? Has it changed much, or did it feel the same thing? Like, because I remember there was players winning it that had no real accreditation with the entire thing, and for some reason were just getting awards, and it's not like they were there to pick one up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the awards, like Haaland won about 10, and he wasn't there.
Brilliant.
So it's still fun to go.
Brilliant. So yeah. I was going to say, I bet it's nice to see people who do what we do. Now, Hull City straight into it's sixth place, I believe, at this point in the league. You've got a 3-point gap. I mean, how's the season going? How do you feel you're getting on? I mean, are you going to maintain it? Are you going to stay in those playoffs?
It's really difficult to know. I mean, I predicted 11th at the start of the season, and I think, that was before we bought Jaden Philogene, and I think he's been injured for the last 5 games, and we've shown good sides and bad sides since he's been out. So at one moment, you feel like we should be about 10 points clear of 7th because the amount of games that we've drawn or lost where we could easily have won. Just recently, we did play poorly against Sunderland, but we still created 4 huge chances and didn't score them. So sometimes you feel like we should have won that, or we didn't deserve to. And then sometimes I feel like with the recent performances, we've lost 4 out of 7 with a few sort of dodgy mistakes at the back because of the way we play. We feel like, well, maybe we're lucky to be in this position after that poor run. So I really don't know yet. I'm quite happy with the way we're playing. We play good football, and I think because of where we are in the league, we'll probably be able to strengthen in January. So I'm feeling quite confident, but we're still doing a whole lot better than I thought we were going to this season. So it's been a nice surprise.
Yeah, because there was a bit of irony, because the as ridiculous as it sounds, the game that we played at your place, I think we went in front at one point, if I remember rightly, and I think it finished 3-2. There was, given the way our season was going under the previous manager and the rest of it, that seemed to me to give me a bit of a false hope. Like there was a football team in there, albeit we didn't go on to win for another 10 games. But you know what I mean? There was something about that whole game when I thought, I tell you what, we're all right. And then given the way that our season went, I probably thought, well, it must have been Hull, probably just going to have a poor season. And then you've had a hell of a turnaround in recent weeks. I mean, what, you've won 4 out of the last 6, 4 out of the last 5. What is it?
Well, we've won 3 of the last 7, but we're still on a pretty decent run. It was only until recently, and then it happened twice in 6 games, where we hadn't lost 2 in a row under the senior for a whole year, and then we lost 2 games, 1-2, and then lost another 2 in a row. So it happened twice. But until then, until Jaden Philogene's recent injury, we'd been really good this season. So yeah, that game, we do usually tend to start poorly and go 1-0 down, but then we've got, I think, the most points, or the second or third most points from losing positions. But we haven't given a lead away. It's just those games where it's a bit tight and we create lots of good opportunities. It's just the young forwards, usually they're finishing as good. It's just the decision making in that final third, especially when we counter. That's the sort of thing we need to get better at. And I think that will come because we're still not playing at the consistent level we know we can. But it's still very difficult. Generally, though, even if we're 6th down to about 13th, I think most teams, it's like a few points difference. so long as you're there and thereabouts for the last 6 games of the season, anyone can get in the playoffs. So we're happy where we are, but it's still frustrating because we feel like, as I said, we should be further clear. But yeah, until recently, we've been doing very well, and this Christmas period has been tough. So we'll look to cap it off pretty well on Monday's game. But then again, Sheffield Wednesday are back in form as well, so it'll be a really good one.
Yeah, it should be a bit of a ding dong. The Championship does tend to be like that, doesn't it? It's one of those where you can lose 3 on the bounce, and all of a sudden you've gone down 16 places in the league, and you don't know what's happened. And then but then I think if you look at the league, it's interesting because there's about 3 teams you look at that are going to be fighting for those automatic spots at the top. But then again, like it seems to every year, there's something about that league where down to about 15th we'll be looking at the playoffs thinking, I reckon we can sneak in here. And then you want to be the form team to hit the playoffs, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, tell me about the gaffer. Tell me about Rossini. I must admit, if somebody had said to me 20 years ago, write down a list of footballers that are going to be decent level managers, I wouldn't have put Rossini in that category. But he's kind of been a bit of a surprise package, hasn't he?
Well, a lot of people who have played with him thought that he would be a good manager, him and Tom Huddleston, and they were both at Derby together. I think Huddleston's doing stuff at Man United at the moment, but I remember 10 years ago when he was part of the FA Cup final team. It'd be crazy that it'll have been 10 years since we got to the final. He was doing his coaching badges alongside Huddleston. So I think it was always in the back of my mind, but with the ownership, it was very strange because Acun Ilıcalı, the sort of Turkish Simon Cowell, brought in some Turkish players, brought in one of his close friends, Shotar Arveladze, as manager. And then very quickly after we realised Shotar was not a very good manager at all, but a very nice guy, they completely switched. Well, yeah, we went from sort of doing what Wolves did, where we'd only sign Portuguese players, we'd only sign Turkish players because of the Turkish links. And then that didn't really work. So we completely switched to buying young English players and then getting Liam Rossini in, who was not a sort of a Super League Turkish manager or someone that he knew already. And so I thought that showed that the ownership sort of changed their mind on the tactics. And obviously any player that or a manager that used to be a player at a club was always going to get a little bit more leeway. But he's earned, all the credit he's got by being a good manager. We've gone from 21st this time last year to 6th under him, and lots more points, lots more wins, much better football. And I mean, every now and again, after a win, not after a defeat, but certainly after a win, we'll say, oh, he'll be the next Brighton manager, or he'll be the next England manager, even that sort of thing. Still very young, lots of things to learn, but generally the way we've gone from playing pretty rubbish football to extremely good, playing up from the back and being a possession-based team and being higher up the table, I think really, if it keeps going, especially in the Championship, I mean in the Premier League, if we did get there, who knows, but I wouldn't see him being sacked. I think the most likely thing would be that another manager or another team in a higher division would attract him one day, especially Brighton. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there because he was coaching the under-21s there, I think, for a time. So yeah, he's an incredible manager and we're extremely lucky to have him, not just because of the whole links, but because he seems like one of the brightest young managers in the country.
Oh, that's a glowing reference, not too shabby. So let's talk about this upcoming fixture. Sheffield Wednesday, hot on the heels of a smash and grab 1-0 win away at Preston. I must admit, not many people fancied us for that. And if you watch the game or caught much of it, it's not like we gave a glowing account of ourselves in how much we could press forward. I mean, we literally fought blood, guts, and thunder to keep Preston out. And fair play, that's football. If we could predict it, we'd be a millionaire every week, wouldn't we? So I mean, how are you feeling about it up and coming? Do you feel like you're in a better place than where you were when we played at the start of the season? Because I believe Sheffield Wednesday are right now under their new coaching regime, as it were.
Well, yeah, you've won a lot more games recently. I mean, staying up will still be tough because of the points difference, but probably a poor time to play Sheffield Wednesday. A few weeks ago, we were looking at this game as like a banker, but that's not true
Yeah.
anymore, especially as we've become a little bit more inconsistent. It's a shame Billy Sharp won't be fit or won't be available to play
Yeah.
because the January transfer window opens. We've already announced we're going to sign him, but we won't be able to make him eligible, which is a shame because I'm
Come
sure
on,
we'd
I'm
all
not
say
unhappy. I'm not unhappy about that, Nathaniel. I
no,
tell you what, he'd
because
really got excited about scoring against us, right?
he can always put a mask on and come off the bench and pretend to be Liam Dunlap, perhaps. They've definitely got the same build, and Sharp's
Yeah.
definitely as quick as Liam Dunlap. So it's a shame he won't play, but yeah, it's a good time to play us because we have been a little bit more inconsistent. I still think we'll probably dominate the game, but that does not mean we're going to win because we've dominated a lot of games, we create a lot of chances, and we mess them up. I mean, a goal scoring, I don't think will be a massive issue, even though I've mentioned Philogene being such a great attacking player for us. Without him, we've actually scored more goals before we signed him and after he's been injured than we have because I guess everything went through him. So you got Twine, Dunlap, Connolly, Tufan as a front four, who are all very dangerous, and we've started to score a few set pieces now. So I think it could be quite a high scoring game because I think our defence isn't great. Sheffield Wednesday have started to score a few more goals. He had a good win against Blackburn. So I think it could be high scoring. Either team could win, but that's what you want from a Yorkshire derby. I mean, the last one, I think, was it 4-2 at the start of the season, could be something similar to that. So, I mean, I've got to back the Tigers to win because we are higher in the table, but I don't think the form necessarily says it's going to be simple as the team higher in the table is going to win.
There's a weird bit where all of a sudden we've gone from not really caring about what's happening with the other teams in the league. We just literally just like, well, we're just here, living our best life, going from game to game, see if we can get any points. But now, since we've picked up a couple of wins in the last few weeks, all right, Christmas wasn't as fruitful with the exception of the Preston game as we'd have liked it to have been. Some of the teams are starting to drop points around us. I mean, God, you've got to feel sorry for Rotherham. They are genuinely underfunded in the Championship every single season, and they're one or two really good player to come through the ranks to all of a sudden stay up there, but they're going to be playing League One football next year, bless them. And I don't really have an axe to grind with Rotherham, but it's not been great for Yorkshire football over the last few years. It's very underrepresented in the in the high end since Leeds have gone down as well. But it'd be nice to just have a right old ding dong and get people looking, wouldn't it? Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably playing the best. Well, us and Leeds are probably playing the best football in Yorkshire. I mean, Sheffield United are garbage. I mean, it's difficult when you're in the Premier League, but they are not giving a good account of themselves. At least Sheffield Wednesday now, from your perspective, are starting to perform decently. It might just be a tiny bit late in the season. It's still a long way to go. But I think a lot of the clubs. I mean, Leeds went up and every game was on Sky, and now they're down. Sheffield United are not going to get the same sort of coverage.
No, and I tell you what as well, in order to be a bit diplomatic, it's a shame on Sheffield as a city. It's the fourth, fifth biggest city in the country, and it just doesn't get very well represented. In terms of football in the like it used to. God, I've just realised it's 30 years ago. And one thing I've just realised as well, Nathaniel, is that I was at your promotion game. I went to go and watch Hull City versus Bristol City that day. And I've just realised you'd have probably been about 5 years old when that came out, right?
Yeah, 2008. 6.
Jesus, sweet child of mine. Right, okay, less said about the better. But, it was a really cracking game, and I thought Bradley Orr and Dean Windass were going to have a tear-up, but it turned out we're looking after him. So I'll leave
hoping that Billy Sharp is going to fill that Dean Windass role, volley against Leeds. We're all dreaming of a whole Leeds playoff final where we beat them with Billy Sharp goal. That would be lovely.
You know what? As much as I like to see Leeds get beat, but I also, at the same vein, don't like seeing Billy Sharp score. So I'm just going to remain on the fence on that one, pal.
Billy Sharp assist.
Yeah, maybe I might take it. I think if given the choice, I'd rather you go up than Leeds, if I'm honest. But so listen, this upcoming fixture, then can I trouble you for a prediction? How you think it's going to go?
It's really difficult. I mean, Will on the podcast, he's predicted us to win 3-0 for an entire year now. He said that he would stop predicting 3-0 if we finally won, but then he's top of our prediction chart because we've had a good season, because you get a point for if we win and you predict that. So I'm not going to go that. I mean, it was 4-2 last time. One of the most iconic games we've had was that 4-2 win at Boothby Park. Hillsborough, where Nick Barmby scored a few almost 20 years ago now. So, it would have been 2004. So maybe, I don't really see this happening, but it's just a nice thing to predict. I'll go 4-2 City win. But if it was the other way around, I wouldn't be completely shocked because we're playing Regan Slater, who's a midfielder, at fullback, because we're so terrified of playing our actual fullback, Cyrus Christie, there because his legs have completely gone. So until we get a fullback, probably the second day of January, because we're so desperate for one, it could be easy to get at them. But I'll go 4-2. A nice, exciting New Year's Day game on Sky. That'd be good. Yeah,
so something to help digest the cheese we've all been eating the last week. Nathaniel, thanks a lot for joining me, pal. See you later.